Hey guys, Andrew Esquivel here, back with another review, and today I'm going to be reviewing a number of things from Morimoto because I kind of need a variety of their products to make all of their products work properly. But what we're going to be reviewing are the XB35 computers, or ballasts, whatever you really want to call them, the XB series H1 HIDs. These are 5,500 Kelvin. And we're going to be connecting them with amp connectors on the igniters, and they are going in my vehicle. Now, not everything in this review is going to be from Morimoto. These H1 HID projectors are from Crazy the God, and the wire relay harness we're using is from Hella. So Crazy the God is probably the lowest end piece of this component. Hella's pretty high up there in terms of their quality, as well as Morimoto. Now, I got all this stuff because I was sick and tired of cheapo deepo things from brands like Kenson. I've tried Kenson. Kenson's stuff is just awful. And the stuff that came with my retrofitted projectors, these were basically free that came with it. You know, they're 35 watt generic Chinese ballasts with 5,000 Kelvin H1 HIDs, and they serve their purpose, but you know, they really weren't all that great. The ballasts, you know, have problems, and the bulbs were just never that bright. So I ponied up for something a little better. Now, granted, yes, Morimoto is about, for everything that you need, would be around 2.5 to 3 times the price of something you would get from Kenson, but we're going to find out today if that price is justified. So, in all fairness and full disclosure, we got to talk about the setup I'm running in my vehicle. My vehicle is really nothing special. And yeah, my engine bay is kind of dirty and messy, but, you know, this isn't exactly a show car. It's got to be more functional than anything. So, here's the dealio. First off, this car's headlights run 9007 sockets. So, these headlights are actually H4. We have a conversion from 9007 to H4. Now these H4 connections then go to the relay harness from Hella, and that relay harness then goes to the system of wires for the HIDs, because H1s are single beam bulbs, so when you go from high beam to low beam, the actuator or the servo solenoid, or whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry, I really should know that word by now. I'm just spitballing here, but you know, the solenoid that moves the flap up and down for the high and low beams gets controlled by that system, and also connected for the power. Then we have from the relay harness power to the ballasts directly. So we got power right here via a 9006, 9005 connection, and this is the ballast right here, or computer as Morimoto likes to call it, and it's got this nice braided cable. This is the igniter wire going to the amp igniter. Once again, XB series. And then we've got the amp connections for the bulb going into the H1 housing for the HID bulb. And it is like that basically on the other side as well. So we're going to see how well everything works. In order to do that, we're going to have to wait for the sun to go down. Alright, so this is the part you guys probably really want to see, which is how well do they perform at night. So, as you may know, with H1 retrofits, getting the bulbs to be like in the exact perfect position to make sure the hot spots are exactly where they need to be can be a little bit of a pain in the butt if you don't have, you know, really high-end projectors. You know, keep in mind these are not Morimoto projectors. These are from Crazy the God. You know, they're not you know, very high-end brands, so getting the bulb to sit just right is a little difficult. I have tried to position them as best as I can. So this is on the low beams. As you can see, the hot spots are close but not perfect. So let's go ahead and turn on the high beam, and this is what we get. So as you can see, my right side's a little lower for the hot spot than the left side. overall the brightness is pretty good. They are definitely brighter than the cheap HIDs I was running before. Alright, so we are on the same stretch of road that I use to test every single set of aftermarket headlights that I come across. We're going to go down this road, we're going to test the high beams, the low beams, and we're going to talk about a few things as we go down the road. Now, one thing I do want to state for the record is I did change out the wiring configuration for this setup. I stopped using the Hella relay harness because I was getting a little bit of flicker on the right side because I could not get the ground proper. I need to find a better spot for the ground wire. So I'm running it off the factory wiring harness, which is actually appropriate enough for this setup. And with that being said, now we're going down the road, and what I'm going to do is I will go back and forth between high and low beam. We're going nice and slow here. I know the camera might not be in the best focus because this camera is not really all that great at nighttime, but this is low beam, this is high beam, and bring it back down to low beam. Now you might notice when I go back down to low beam, there is a dip in the color temperature for just a moment. These things are 5,500 Kelvin, but it dips down in the color temperature for just a fraction of a second, and then it bumps right back up to what it should be. So we are going around, and we're going to go to a spot in this area where there is no outside lighting, so like no street lights and stuff, and it's just around this corner over here. So once we get there, we can really see how well the lights do on their own. I can tell you one thing, these are definitely brighter than the cheapo depot stuff that came with my projectors. Now, as I said before, these projectors are not really all that high end. They're probably on the lower end spectrum. So if you use a better set of projectors like the Morimoto Mini H1 7th gen stuff, along with this stuff, you'll probably get much better results. But even with this cheap stuff, things are pretty good. So I'm just going to sit here for a moment so we can kind of take it all in. Try and see if my camera can focus properly. So this is on high beam now. And if we zoom in a bit here, we can kind of see how far we're going down the road. And zoom back out, try and give you a more realistic perspective here. So that's high beam, and then going back to low beam. Obviously, in real life, you'll see the subtle differences, like being able to see further up above you. And as far as aiming the lights, I could probably aim the lights a little higher, in all honesty, to see further down the road. The brightness and the contrast on the road is really nice. It's far better than the Kenson stuff that I ran. I ran the 55 watt Kenson H1s in 6,000 Kelvin, which when they're running on 55 watt ballasts brings down the color temperature a little bit. So it's very close to the same amount of light and color temperature and contrast. But the Kensons always had a problem where they simply just did not get that bright. These 35 watt bulbs from Morimoto are considerably brighter than the 55 watt stuff from Kenson. So there's something to be said about that. The Kenson set's using more electricity, putting out way more UV light, which the reason I stayed away from the 55 watt kit, with the XB35, I could have easily ran. But when you run the 55 watt kits, you run the risk of deteriorating the reflecting material on the inside of your projectors a lot faster, and there's various reasons why that happens. So I went with the 35 watt kit, which is, with this combination, it's plenty bright. It's plenty bright. Far brighter than my stock halogens in my reflector unit for sure. So even though this is a cheap set of projectors, using a relatively good set of HIDs and ballasts, the combination works really well, and that's a big credit to Morimoto for making a very good aftermarket set of products. So they can even make, relatively lower end stuff look a lot better than what it would normally be. I've considered replacing these with the Morimoto H1 projector housings because I'd like to get a better beam, and if you want to get that hotspot better, you could try the moto holders. I did try the moto holders on my set of projectors, and for some reason, let me go to high beam. For some reason, the moto holders did not line up in the holes properly for my HID projector setup, so I couldn't really use them. But if you're using the Morimoto brand projector housings, it should definitely fit, and it'll keep the bulb placement perfect in that set so that the hot spots are absolutely what you want it to be, or where you want it to be. So that is a quick run using these bulbs and this ballast. I would say, as far as if they're worth the money, yeah, definitely. The amounts of brightness you get out of these things for the amount of power that they consume is very, very respectable. And once again, my projectors are not all that great. Use them in a better set of projectors, you'll get even better results. But it just goes to show, once again, Morimoto's quality is worth the price. Now, it is a shame I am using them in lower-end projectors, but hopefully when I get new higher-end projectors, I'll really get to see these things shine, no pun intended. But for now, yes, I totally recommend these. These are definitely good kits. I really do like them. They put out a good amount of light, and everything seems just better in general. So with that being said, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you liked the review. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share your friends, check out my other videos. I've got plenty of them. And as always, I'll see you next time. Drive safe.